Jack Sullivan counted 11 trucks parked crooked along the fence line before the sun had fully cleared the ridge, and not one of them belonged to a man who'd been asked to be there. That was the part that would stay with him. Nobody had called these men. Word just moved through a valley like this, the way water moves downhill. A tornado tears through in the night, and by morning, men who'd never say a kind word out loud were already loading lumber into their truck beds, because that was simply what you did. The barn itself was barely a barn anymore. What the storm left behind looked like a rib cage. Beams jutting at broken angles, the roof folded in on itself. Splinters scattered across the pasture in a wide, violent circle. Margaret Ellis stood at the edge of it, in her late husband's old canvas coat, arms wrapped around herself, not from the cold. "You don't have to do this," she said, when Jack climbed down from his truck. Her voice had the careful flatness of someone who'd rehearsed the sentence before he arrived. "I mean it, Jack. I can't pay you. Any of you." Jack looked past her at the wreckage, then back at the woman standing in front of it, like she was the one holding it up. "Nobody said anything about pay, Margaret." "Then why?" "Because a ranch doesn't survive because one person's tough enough to carry it alone." He pulled his gloves from his back pocket, unhurried, like this was the most ordinary Tuesday of his life. "It survives because the neighbors decide it should. That's the whole secret. There isn't another one." Margaret didn't answer that. She turned and looked at the barn again, and something crossed her face too fast for Jack to name. Not quite grief, not quite gratitude. Something living in between. By 9, the frame was already rising. Jack worked the way he always did. Steady, quiet, giving instructions only when someone needed them, carrying the worst of the lifting onto his own back without making a show of it. He was 45, built like a man who'd spent every one of those years outdoors, and there wasn't a barn or fence line in the valley he hadn't touched after some storm or another. People called him generous. Jack never thought of it that way. He just remembered the years after his own wife passed, when men like these had shown up at his gate without asking, and he'd promised himself he'd never let that debt go unpaid to the next person who needed it. Margaret brought coffee out around 10, in mismatched mugs carried 2 at a time, on a tray that had clearly seen 40 years of use. She lingered near Jack longer than she lingered near the others. Not on purpose, or not admitted as purpose, just gravity finding its way. "Frank," she said, nodding toward a framed photograph still hanging, miraculously untouched, on the one wall the storm hadn't taken. A man in a wide hat, squinting into old sunlight, one boot up on a fence rail. "My husband, 20 years gone this spring." Jack looked at the photograph a long moment. "He built this barn?" "With his father, 1961. Margaret's fingers tightened around her mug. "Everyone tells me to sell the place, says a woman alone can't run 400 acres forever." She let out a breath that wasn't quite a laugh. "Maybe they're right. But every board in that barn has him in it somewhere. I'm not sure I know how to let that go for a number on a check." Jack didn't offer an easy answer, because he didn't have one, and he respected her enough not to pretend otherwise. "Then we won't let it go today," he said instead. "That's all I can promise you." Margaret looked at him, really looked, the way people look when a sentence lands somewhere they didn't expect, and for the first time all morning, something in her shoulders eased. The day moved the way hard, honest work moves, fast in the body, slow in the heart. By early afternoon the walls stood true, and old Wyoming stories started passing between the men, the way stories do when hands are busy and nobody's looking directly at each other. Stubborn horses, bad winters, a rancher 3 counties over who once tried to argue his way out of a debt with a judge who happened to be his own brother-in-law. Margaret laughed at that one, head back, coffee nearly spilling, and Jack found himself watching her a beat longer than the joke deserved. He recognized something in that laugh. The particular relief of a person remembering they're allowed to feel light, even now, even carrying what she carried. They didn't talk about loss directly. They didn't need to. It moved underneath everything they did say, in the careful way Jack asked about the ranch's herd count, in the way Margaret asked whether his own place still had that stubborn mare he'd complained about last winter. Two people who understood grief don't always need to name it to recognize it sitting across the table. By late afternoon, the roof was going up, sheet by sheet, and Jack climbed the ladder himself for the final beam, driving the last nail home as the sun started sinking gold and low across the valley. When he came down, Margaret was waiting at the bottom, her hands folded in front of her, like she was holding something she didn't quite know how to give. "I don't know how to thank you for this," she said. "Any of you." "Don't," Jack said simply. "The barn standing is the thanks. Nothing else needed." She nodded slowly, though something in her eyes suggested she didn't entirely agree with him, that she had her own ideas about what thanks required, and she wasn't quite finished with them yet. Jack drove back at sunrise the next morning, the way he always did after a rebuild, just to check the roof had held through the night. The valley was quiet, mist still low over the grass, and as he came up the drive he saw the barn door standing wide open. He stepped inside expecting nothing. What he found stopped him cold. A long wooden table ran the length of the barn floor, covered end to end with a simple ranch breakfast: eggs, biscuits, coffee steaming in a dozen mismatched pots. And beside every single plate sat a small, faded photograph. A child on a horse. A boy fixing a fence too tall for him. A girl carrying a lamb twice her size. Jack picked up the one nearest him. It took him a full 10 seconds to recognize the boy in the photograph as himself, maybe 8 years old, standing beside a fence he didn't remember fixing. Beside the photograph was a handwritten note, Margaret's careful script. "You once gave your only pair of boots to a boy at school who had none. Nobody remembered that but you and God. I remembered too." Jack's throat closed before he understood why. One by one, the other ranchers filed in behind him, each finding their own plate, their own photograph, their own forgotten kindness written back to them in a stranger's careful hand. A man who'd once pulled a neighbor's truck from a frozen creek at 2 a.m. A woman who'd nursed an orphaned calf back to health the winter she buried her own mother. 20 years of small, unremembered goodness, quietly gathered and returned all at once in one barn on one morning. The toughest men in the valley stood reading those notes in silence. Then, one by one, they stopped pretending they weren't crying. Margaret stood near the back doors, watching, saying nothing, the way you watch something you've been building toward for longer than anyone realized. Jack found her there. "How long have you been collecting these?" "Years," she said quietly, "long before the storm. I never had a reason to give them back until now." She looked around at the barn, full of people, full of light, full of the family her husband had built the walls for. "I couldn't pay you back for this, but I could remind you who you already were." Jack looked at the boy in the photograph in his hand, then at the woman in front of him, and understood, finally, that they hadn't simply rebuilt a barn. They'd rebuilt the place where an entire town's memory of itself still lived. The barn became the valley's spring gathering place after that. Every year, the same long table, the same shared breakfast, a tradition nobody had planned, and everybody needed. And every year, Jack Sullivan stood in the doorway a little longer than necessary, remembering that the strongest barns are built from timber. But the strongest towns are built by people who never stop remembering each other's kindness. If this story warms something in you this morning, share it with someone who could use the reminder. Leave it a like, and stay a while longer.